Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about how some Trump supporters have exposed the personal information of grand jurors who made the decision to indict the former president. We're going to talk a little bit about the implications of that. Also, protesters are now marching in Florida against that Black history standard and curriculum. Black Florida is finally standing up, and I'm so proud of them. Also, later on, we're going to talk to the sister of Botham Jean 5 years after the murder of Botham Jean. She releases a new book, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and so much more. So stay with us. We got a lot to discuss on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. First and foremost, I appreciate y'all for checking in as we are streaming live right now on blackstarnetwork.com. We're also streaming live on Amazon News on your Roku television, where you can find us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And of course, we are streaming live on two major platforms, social media platforms, Facebook and on YouTube. And it's on YouTube where you can go under Roland Martin's YouTube page and you can see the show streaming live. But not only that, folks, you can join us in the conversation, be a part of the culture crew for the day. And we would love to hear what you got to say as we have these discussions. Big shout out to the culture crew that have already checked in. Deidre Hall, thank you so much. Hello, Deidre. Robin Welch, good to connect with you once again, Robin. Thank you, sis. You don't like my music? Check one, check two. Yes, sir. Good to connect with you, bro. Nicole Spicer. Hey, Nicole. How are you? Cindy D. Cindy, hello. It's good to connect with you. My sister, Karen Connor. Karen, hello. Welcome. Karen, we'll see you very soon. Yes. Tiana, thank you. Hey, y'all. Hey, Tiana. Pauline, Miss Pauline, this is a pleasure. Always checking in from the great city of Cleveland. Lonnie, reading and math, get you a job. I hear that. Carl Bowden, Carl, thank you so much. You said, what is there to be proud about Florida? Folks are saying enough. That's why, Carl. People are like, enough is enough. We needed to see some type of disruption there. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, Carl. Totally trusting him. Hello, good to connect with you. Teresa Heath, greetings from rural, Indiana? Yes, Teresa, thank you so much for checking in all the way from the great state of Indiana. Evans Jean Baptiste Marquise Delva, good evening. DJ Baptista, checking Florida. I hear that. Thank you so much. Donna McAdoo Kelly, thank you so much, Donna, for checking in. And so many of you are checking in, so it's always a pleasure to hear what you have to say. Be sure to get ready to join us in the conversation as we talk about these things today. All right, folks, I want to jump right in. First and foremost, let's talk about what's happening with the former president. As you know, of course, he's been indicted for the fourth time. Well, now some of his supporters are not happy about the indictment, so much so that they have decided to try to go on an intimidation path by releasing the personal information of grand jurors who made the decision to indict the former president. And I'm talking about personal information, telephone numbers, even addresses and websites and email addresses. Wow. All because they're not happy with the decision to hold Trump accountable. Let me share with you the latest from CNN on this piece, folks. Take a look at this. Names, photographs, social media profiles, and even the home addresses purportedly belonging to members of the Fulton County grand jury that this week voted to indict former President Donald Trump and his 18 co-defendants are circulating on social media, with experts saying that some anonymous users are calling for violence against them. However, the names being circulated on these sites appear to match the names of at least 13 of the 26 grand jurors that served on the panel in Fulton County. It's unclear If those names are the actual grand jurors or just people with the same name, some addresses appear to be wrong. Unlike the federal system, when someone is indicted in Fulton County, the indictment includes the names of all of the grand jurors and so who served on the 26-member panel that handed up the charges. However, the indictment, which is a public record that's available on the court website, does not include their addresses or any other personally identifiable information. Also, in some forms, users are posting multiple social media profiles of different people who have the same name as some of the grand jurors. Wow. Wow. Absolute madness. Just because you want to hold a man accountable for what he did down in Georgia. This is crazy. Let me bring my brother in, who's always giving us some insight on the madness. My brother Shanedu Wakorfo, who is a diversity, equity, inclusion specialist. Brother Shanedu, good to connect with you once again. What do you make of this, bro? I mean, this is like, yesterday we were talking about this. I was talking to my sister Suzette Speaks, and I was like, it's crazy that, you know, you got this major indictment that came down from Georgia District Attorney Fonnie Willis, and some people will go as far as to say, well, Trump is still a viable candidate for president. He's still a decent man. But then to get to this point where you're intimidating people for simply holding someone accountable, what is this all about from your vantage point, bro?
I'm not sure, but people clearly aren't learning, because if you remember, it was one of the poll workers from Georgia who testified in front of a grand jury talking about that she was threatened, and I think it was her daughter was threatened as well, something around the same area of where we are. And it's clear that these people are not learning, and that is because when the truth comes, intimidation runs. And I think intimidation is what is being pushed. And for me, and I'm not making this a race thing, but what I think about is when Black children were desegregating schools and there were the kids and the families, you know, spitting at them, throwing things at them, mocking them. It's the intimidation that they try to use to kind of sidewind and make people scared of going for the truth. And I don't think it's going to work, because the truth of the matter is, grand jury or no grand jury, we know what we know and we saw what we saw. These numbers are not lying. It's unfortunate that this is where it has to go, but this is what people should be asking themselves. Is this the democracy? Is this the democracy that the Republican Party swears that they are trying to pontificate about? Is this what that democracy looks like?
No, absolutely not. And a lot of this is just good old American gangsterism. You try to bully your way into a situation, or you bully your way out of a situation because you don't like the outcome. You don't want to hold a person accountable. You think some people are above the law, and I think that's part of the problem. Let me go to Tiana. Tiana, you checked in and said, isn't it illegal to expose grand jury information? I would think it is, but now it's online, Brother Shanedu. And by being online, it's very hard to figure out, like, I mean, unless you're going to do some deep investigation, like who was the first person that posted this information online or in these chats and whatnot. So it's like you could spend your time, money, resources, manpower to do that work, but it is going to be something. Now, again, like I mentioned from the CNN report, some people have the same name. So if you have a John Smith on the grand jury, I mean, good luck with that, because there are many John Smiths, right? But it's just the simple fact that do you think that there are going to be some level of accountability of individuals, Trump supporters who have done this or who are talking about this? Do you think there's going to be some consequence for it?
There should be, and there needs to be. And if they're using any of the same ideology that they use as it pertains to January 6th, that will be a whole nother legal case on its own. And I am starting to trust the legal system somehow. Probably shout out to these Black women who are leading these indictments.
What? You starting to trust the legal system?
Shout out to these Black women who are leading the indictments. You didn't hear that. They are making me look at things differently. And I think there will be accountability. It may not move in the speed that we want, but I believe that there should be some accountability. But I think accountability or no accountability in the present, it should not shake anybody as it pertains to what the legal process needs to be. Things should still continue just as any other high case continues in this country, where you secure these people, you make sure these people are well housed, these jurors, and so on and so forth. And we do what we've been doing when it comes to these type of high profile cases. But I don't think the intimidation is going to work. I would hope people have learned their lessons from January 6th. But if they have not, we can slap their wrists with those indictments and that jail time yet again.
And let me say, you say people hope that people learn this lesson. Let me tell you, we have learned our lesson, but has the American government learned the lesson? That's the bigger question, because the American government should have certain things in place right now. And I think, and I know this might be a big ask, Brother Sinedu, but given the magnitude of the situation that we're seeing around Trump, not just his personal life, but just the impact of him on the Republican Party, him on the largest system of democracy, there should probably be some very, very serious conversations around constitutional amendments within the next year or two. Or constitutional, I know we have constitutional conventions, right, where there should be some discussions, because the Constitution does not speak to having a man that's been 4 times indicted, 2 times impeached, running for office. There's no law against that, but it's ethically not good. So, and then when you're looking at the situation around January 6th, then when you look at the situation about how some Trump supporters are exposing things, like, there has to be something in place to hold people accountable. Real Brooklyn, you checked in, my brother. You said, did we really think that this whole situation was going to be clean? We see how dirty politicians can get with their TV commercials. So why would this be any different? Absolutely. No, you know what? I probably fall in that category a little bit, Real Brooklyn. I didn't expect them to start exposing people's information, but I don't know if it's because those folks are just that good with technology, or if the Fulton County court system is that bad with security. I don't know which one that came first. Is it, the chicken or the egg type of thing for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it that easy to get that grand juror's information? I don't know. What's your take on that very quickly, Sinedu? You're on me, bro. There we go.
I'm with you on that one. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. And I do think this is something that we do because we do live in the social media age. This information just came out. We need to let things play out a little bit. We need to see where this is going to go. I don't want to assume. I don't want to say something that we have to end up retracting. I'm going to let this play out a little bit longer and see what happens.
Right. Absolutely. Look, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation, Brother Sinedu, about the situation. Also, we got to talk about what's happening in the state of Florida, as folks are saying, you know what? Enough is enough. Protesters have taken to the streets yesterday to protest against Black History standards just days before the start of the new school year. What impact can we expect from that situation? Stay with us. The conversation continues on the first hour right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been checking in with my brother Shinedu Okorafor as we talk about grand jurors and personal information being exposed by Trump supporters as a result of their decision, their vote to indict the former president down in Georgia in Fulton County, and has created some serious concern about the safety and well-being of these individuals whose information might be put on a lot of different social media spaces and whatnot. I want to bring my brother Shinedu back into the conversation here because I think, Shinedu, this is a telling situation about where we are. And you mentioned this in your remarks in the beginning. This is where we are. We are literally at a point where people are so upset, they're so enthralled with a personality that they're willing to go this far. They're so enthralled with the personality, they're willing to even deny the truth. And I think that's the big part for me, that if you can't even accept the truth of a matter, you're gone. You're gone, bro. And we're seeing this more and more, that people, regardless of how well you laid out the case or how well you explain the situation, people are still going to be like, you know what, that's not true, that's not true. You're just trying to kid him. You're just trying to, and it's sad. Pauline, my sister, you checked in. Pauline Hurt, you said grand jurors' names and personal information need to be kept confidential. That's what I would think. But now you wonder, Brother Shinedu, and this is going down a conspiracy theory path. But then you wonder, like, okay, this is Georgia. Trump does have some supporters in Georgia. Trump's going to have some supporters that work in the courthouse. Some inside job type situation, right? It could happen. Like somebody is leaking this information from the courthouse. A Trump supporter that's a bailiff, a Trump supporter that is a court clerk, a Trump supporter that's held as a judge.
Well,
we don't know.
That's not quite a conspiracy if you're looking at the breakdown of some of the people who were there at January 6th. We learned that some of those people were law enforcement. Some of those people had high positions. That's not conspiratorial. That could actually be the facts for people who do want to sow division in this country. And that is scary. And we talked about this during the leaking of the Supreme Court rulings. If there isn't a level of secrecy and confidentiality when it comes to law paraphernalia or what have you, then what the hell are we even doing? What's going on?
Absolutely. Janelle, you checked in, my sister. You said these names weren't sealed after the proceedings were done. That's a problem. See, this all goes back down to, again, this is not just an individual problem. This is a systemic problem. Any state, and here's the thing, folks, and I don't want to put this out there in this respect because I don't want to But we do have to recognize that we're living in a time where a system or any person who is on the other side of this, who may not support the president, our district attorney, Fonnie Willis, you gotta protect the system. You gotta put some protection around the system, right? I mean, we can act as if things won't get bad, but folks, how many of us actually truly expected Trump to be voted as president? I mean, come on, let's be for real. So we got to get out of this space. Like Fonnie Willis needs to be protected. Anybody that's working on the case needs to be protected. The grand jury should be protected. And guess what? The United States government needs to provide the protection. Like a serious situation here. Like putting it out like that. I know the resources are thin, but we can put money in a lot of other places, and that doesn't fit us at home. But if people are trying to simply do their job, and we can have this level of protection for Fonnie Willis or anybody that's involved in this investigation in this case, just simply put it like, yo, if you're serious about protecting and preserving democracy, you need to protect these individuals. Because some people don't care about the rule of law, Brother Shanadu, and they will go as far. I mean, how many times now have we heard of threats against political figures? How many times we heard of threats against the president? They just locked up somebody else. I'm trying to remember. I just came across one story. They were talking about doing some type of harm to another political figure in the state. That's the time we live in. Let's stop thinking that we're living in some other time, and let's be in the present moment and say, you know what, we need to get some protection for the sister down in Georgia. Because I mean, she's trying to simply do her job. People are putting all of that burden on her to protect democracy. Well, if you want her to protect democracy, protect Fonnie Willis down there. That's my take, bro.
Yeah, and to follow that take, because it's not about race, right? A lot of these people who are getting so, hell-bent over this Trump thing, where were you when she was doing all those other RICO cases? Y'all seem to have no issues when she was persecuting black rappers in Georgia. Y'all had no issues when that was the case. So it's like, I don't like to talk about race, but don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Like I know what it is, and we all do. She needs to be protected because what she is doing is her job, and it's shameful in our democracy that someone who is doing their job needs to be protected higher when it comes down to rule of law. And it's a shame, but no man. And I think the reason why it's important for Trump to be indicted and hopefully jailed is because let that be a lesson to any American. No one is above the law. We need to make sure that is understood, because the truth of the matter is, if he gets away with all of this, your concern should not be Donald Trump. Your concern is going to be the next person who does it. Good
point. Hey, look, Isaac Smith checked in. Isaac, good to hear from you. Thank you for being a part of the chat today, being one of our crew members. Isaac said something that I think is very important for us to keep in mind. He said Trump's Secret Service detail provides him protection. Wow. Wow. So he gets to benefit the protection of this institution. He gets to get world-class protection, while at the same time, he is being indicted for undermining the very foundation of the institution that protects him.
Ain't that some white shit?
I want y'all to just think about that. He's being protected by an institution that stands on the very foundation which he tried to undermine in Georgia, in DC, and across the country. He gets the benefit of that. So you mean to tell me at this point, should he not lose his Secret Service protection? Come on, Isaac, you brought that up, man. I appreciate it. What does it take for a man to get Secret Service protection? It's one thing you president of the United States. It's another thing when you former president of the United States that tried to legitimately disrupt the national election for your agenda. whether it's in DC or whether it's in Georgia, and then you still get protection from the institution that you try to disrupt from. You disrupt. Because nobody can run up on you. Nobody can go to you. And see, that's why I said, Sinead, this ain't an individual problem. This is an American systems problem.
It is. And if you really think about it, Farajii, because y'all going to hate this, I don't think he should lose his protection. And I'm going to tell you why. I think Trump became president to insulate himself from everything he's done before and the things.
And that's the problem.
Because that's
the problem, bro.
We can't have. He could look what we found out in Mar-a-Lago. Think about if we let that man on the loose. He could sell things that you and me haven't even heard of to the next highest bidder, to the next person who would give him asylum. So we gotta imprison him and still protect him in the
and we all know Cindy. Who else says it? Cindy, Evans. Everybody, we know presidents get protection for life.
Mm-hmm.
But shouldn't he lose his protection? I mean, seriously, shouldn't he lose his protection? Come on, man. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. I mean, seriously. He's in the country. And look, I'm not saying like I'm being honest. The American people, we are paying for that. And we will be paying for that for the rest of his life. You want protection, but you want to attack the system. You want to attack the country in areas that are vulnerable, but you're not left vulnerable.
Farajii, what I want to know is, I want to know what's going to happen tomorrow at high noon if he don't turn himself in. That's what I need to know. Because
we're going to see that.
Apparently, she set a time and date. We'll see what happens.
We got to see what happens, bro. But this is a. Yeah, but see, this is a far-reaching situation. This is a bigger problem. And I know the president, I'm talking about President Biden, I'm sure he doesn't really want to deal with it like that because it's very sensitive. It will cause a lot of, issues, but you gotta deal with this. How do you deal with it? And again, the founders of this country, the constitutionalists, the fundamentalists of this country, they did not foresee a president being in the predicament that Donald Trump is in. So now, do we keep relying on that? Or do we figure out some new rules on how to play the game, on how to engage a man and his followers like that? Because if you're telling me that all of this can continue to happen, I'm going back to my original thesis, folks. Y'all can agree with me or not. I'm going back to my original thesis. Don't come to us as Black Americans and tell us we should have faith and trust in a system that is blatantly biased and that one man can disrespect, but y'all can give him the privilege. Y'all can give him all the trappings of everything that he needs, but you get mad at us because we don't vote. Come on, don't make sense to me. It does not make sense, bro. Look, I gotta take a quick pause when we come forward. We're gonna shift gears. I'm gonna let that ride because Sinead, you said we're gonna wait to see tomorrow. But we're gonna switch gears. I gotta share with you the latest in Florida. Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
For decades, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted black communities and kids with marketing for menthol cigarettes. It's had a devastating impact on black health. Tobacco use claims 45,000 black lives every year. It's the #1 cause of preventable death. In the 1950s, less than 10% of black smokers used menthol cigarettes. Today, it's 85%. Menthol cools and numbs the throat, making it easier for kids to start smoking. Menthol also increases addiction, making it harder for smokers to quit. Menthol cigarettes are a big reason why black Americans have a harder time quitting smoking and die at higher rates from smoking-related diseases like cancer, heart disease, and stroke. It's time to stop big tobacco from profiting off black lives. An FDA ban on menthol cigarettes will improve black health, save lives, and protect future generations from addiction. Learn more at tobaccofreekids.org/ban menthol.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We have, I want to shift gears from talking about what President Trump's supporters are doing to what the people of Florida are doing down in Miami. Big shout out to Miami, Florida, as protesters went to the streets yesterday to protest the Black History standards and Black History curriculums that Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida Department of Education wanted to implement for the new school year. Take a look at this, folks. This is coming out of NBC News here. We want to share with you very quickly. Dozens of teachers, students, and labor leaders marched to a Miami school district headquarters yesterday to protest Florida's new standards for teaching Black history, which have come under intense criticism for what they say about slavery. These new state standards that DeSantis has come up with will not be tolerated in our schools. We will not let our children be taught that slaves benefited from their slavery. That's a lie, said March organizer Marvin Dunn, who serves as a professor emeritus of psychology at Florida International University. Now, let me share with you the second thing here. About 50, and Ken, that's post quote two, thank you. About 50 protesters who started the 1 mile trek from Booker T. Washington Senior High School in Miami's historically Black Overtown neighborhood chanted, "What do we want? Truth. When do we want it? Now. What if we don't get it? Shut it down." They were greeted by another 50 protesters at the school board building, where speakers addressed the crowd. Among them was Tennessee Representative Justin Pearson. The true history is that Black people have always fought to make America what it ought to be, and has always resisted what it could be, Pearson told the crowd. He said, we've always fought for the America that we know is possible. That is not here yet. Justin Pearson down in Florida showing his support and standing in solidarity with folks down there, folks. But Sinead, I'm so happy that folks came to the streets to protest this new standard for teaching Black history, bro. This is what we've been waiting for. I know I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this, man. I was like, yo, what's going on in Florida, man? Like, why isn't anyone else looking to speak out about this? But we're seeing it happening days before the new school year starts. How do you think this thing is going to turn up? Do you foresee something like a strike? Do you think that some students are going to not show up for the certain classes? What would you say as an organizer and activist yourself? How would you proceed with the next step?
There are limitless possibilities, but
the
one that matters the most is the one that involves a ballot. So this is good for now. This is what I've learned through my maturation of activism. It's the noise making is part of it. The noise making is to get you to pay attention. But there needs to be something electoral, legislative that we also need to focus on. Florida, y'all voted this man in. He did not steal an election. He did not appear at night. This man got elected in. And we have to be cognizant of the folks that we're electing, not during, not after, but before. So I'm hoping that this protest will lead to those type of conversations that will be demonstrated in the ballot box. But I don't think the people should stop. I think all forms of Americanism should come out. And when I say all forms of Americanism, I mean protest. I even mean capitalism. Can somebody use this to now create some type of after-school program that parents can sign their kids up for to get the actual? And it's unfortunate, but this is our nation. This is how this nation has always existed. Whatever we can do, I think there needs to be multiple forms of protest, active and passive.
I agree with you, brother. And again, I want to give a big shout out to the folks, the teachers and everything. And it's such a small number, right? Like, this is the thing that I'm hearing. When we talk very quickly, Brother Sinead, when we talk to some of our brothers and sisters down in Montgomery, Black folks did some action down in Selma to shut down the gas station down there. Very few numbers. We're reporting that about 50 to 100 people shut down, got into this protest. Very small numbers. Talk to us from your vantage point, bro, why it's important for us not to get caught up in the big numbers and during the action, but to at least have some numbers to get the action started.
Well, because it has been proven in America that numbers only matter at the end. Right now, when you're getting people involved, it's important that it's getting attention. And I think what activists need to understand, or people who are involving themselves in activism, is that stand on your belief and let the nature of American society do the rest. Because clearly it's getting somewhere, because it's being picked up by the Black Star Network, and we're talking about it right now. The news is talking about it. It's being reported. And when that happens, that's when more people will come up, and then it becomes a national movement. That's how these things spiral. So small and mighty is a real thing. But in that point, the reason why I don't want you to get lost in your numbers, because we saw this in the Black Lives Matter movement. Sometimes when you get too big too fast, your message gets very, very lost and convoluted. So I think they need to stay structured, start with their small voices, and that small voice can be very, very powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Folks are checking in. The crew is checking in. La Kelly, you said Black Floridians, your vote matters. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Who else I'm seeing here? Robin Welch, because a lot of Black folks didn't vote, that's why he won. I would homeschool. That might be the move for a lot of Black parents, Sinead. Let me see here. What else we got here? Because folks are checking in. I see my sister Suzette Speaks is in the chat, checking in all the way from Miami, Florida. So, I mean, it shows that something is happening. It shows that something is happening. I'm wondering, what's the ultimate goal? Is it to delay the start of the school system? I wonder if it's to, our teachers are going to start kind of pushing back on this. What would you say for parents and for the rest of us, really for Black America? How do we stand in solidarity to make sure that this situation doesn't and I'm talking about this reporting or this teaching of this Black history curriculum doesn't happen for this next school year.
Well, I have to be very clear. This is for Black America, but this is not about Blackness. This is about American history being removed. And that's why I believe if our white colleagues really believe about what happened and the truth, it is their job to stand in front, because we know parents tell their kids Black history, and we know that Black kids live it every single day. But folks really care about education, then we need some of these white allies or whatever you want, or history thumpers who really care about history. If it's not about race, let it be about history. We need to make sure that we have those white folks, those Jewish folks. And I say that because who would dare say that if the Holocaust didn't happen? We would be in uproar. So we would love our colleagues from the Jewish community to come and stand up with us. We would like our folks from the white community to come up and stand with us. All different people of races and creed, because if you can erase this history, you can erase any history.
Absolutely. Nemra Abi Oye, you checked in, and hopefully I'm not mispronouncing your name. You said it's amazing how the powers that be are sanctioning this in Florida, because it only sets the children up for a rude awakening when they learn the truth, either in life or in college. And guess what, folks? That's what we're fighting for. That's why we're having these discussions, because at the end of the day, Brother Shanady, you know it and I know it. If you go through life being ignorant of who you are, where you come from, and your overall history and the impact that you have made on the present space that you're in, you're going to be a dangerous person. And I'm not talking about in a good trouble type of way. I'm talking about you're going to be used as a tool and a pawn. And essentially, you will not move the ball of progress forward. So we need to make sure that at every turn, to always let people know this is wrong and we got to do something about it. My brother Shanady Wakorfor, I appreciate you and love you, man. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. God willing, we'll reconnect with you next week.
Inshallah. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's change the conversation. It's been 5 years since the killing of Botham Jean in his own home. And today, we're going to be checking in with his sister, who has just, who is going to be releasing a new book called After Botham Jean, 5 years later. And we'll talk a little bit about the case and the work that she's doing to make sure that we not only talk about police brutality, but we also talk about healing. Stay with us. That conversation is up next with her right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. If you missed the first hour, we talked a lot about some Trump supporters exposing some personal information of grand jurors who voted to indict the former president. You should definitely check out that conversation. And we talked about just some of the latest moves happening down in Florida as teachers and community members and labor organizers take the streets of Miami-Dade County to protest Black History standards. We're keeping our eyes on that situation as school is about to start in a few days. But you don't want to miss this first hour, so make sure you do yourself justice and check out the previous hour as we stream live on Black Star Network and, of course, on Amazon News. And also make sure you turn your notification on, because we do notify you on Facebook when we are replaying the show, and we would love to get your take on all of these things, and most importantly, to stay connected with what's happening. So again, show your support for Team Replay at blackstarnetwork.com. All right, folks. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about peace. Let's talk about police brutality, and let's talk about healing. This is the next part of the conversation with my very special guest, who is the sister of Botham Jean. This is the Black man who was shot and killed while in his own home by a former police officer, Amber Geiger. And it was almost 5 years ago, folks. We were coming up on the anniversary, on the acknowledgement of that day. I don't like to use the term anniversary, but we're coming up on the acknowledgement of that day. And his sister is going to be joining us in a moment to talk about her new book, After Botham: Healing from My Brother's Murder by a Police Officer, as she is still working through getting past the pain of that day, and most importantly, to make sure that other families don't experience that same pain. So we want to welcome to the airwaves of The Culture here on the Black Star Network, Elisa Charles Finley, to talk to us about this brand new book that will be hitting the shelves on September 5th, and to talk about the work that she is doing of healing and creating peace in the community. Elisa, thank you so much for checking in with us this afternoon. How are you, ma'am?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. First and foremost, my heart and prayers continue to go out, and our heart and prayers here at The Culture, we continue to go out to you and to your family, dear sister. Even though it was 5 years ago that your brother, we lost your brother, the pain is still very real. I think a lot of people are still in a state of shock. We're still feeling that pain of what has happened to your brother. So I'm going to start this conversation off this way, sis. How are you and your family? How have you been over these past 5 years?
The past 5 years have been, I would say, a roller coaster, especially with emotions and grief. So we're really trying. It's a daily struggle. There are times where we still don't. I wake up and don't believe that this is my reality, that Botham isn't here anymore. But it is a continuous journey. To not just healing from losing Botham, but to just keeping his memory alive, because that is for me top on my priority list.
And I want to personally apologize for mispronouncing your brother's name, Botham, because we've heard it in I don't want to do that. So So again, I apologize for mispronouncing your brother's name, but I totally I can only imagine. I don't understand. I'm not going to say that because I don't, but I can only imagine how it has been an up and down roller coaster. Do you feel like even though time has passed, and there's that old saying says that time heals all wounds, is this a case where that can be applied?
No. I think what happens in time is that you learn to live with your pain, you learn to adjust. I like to explain it as if you're it's like having one arm. It's like driving with one arm. In the beginning, it's very hard. But you adjust. But it doesn't make it easier. You still have one arm. So this is, living without Botham, living with this fight against the city of Dallas because they still refuse to take responsibility, even though Amber Geiger at the time was a police officer. But we do it for Botham.
There was a moment in her trial where the judge approached her.
Mm-hmm.
What was that moment like for you to see that was that level where the judge walked off of the bench onto the floor and begins to confront and console, comfort and console Amber Geiger in that situation as a Black woman? I mean, how did that? What was going through your mind and your heart and your spirit at that moment?
I mean, at that time, I was already upset at the sentencing because for killing a young 26-year-old Black man, accountant, praise leader, Christian, in his own apartment for doing nothing, just for being Black and laying on his couch, and to receive only 10 years for killing him, for cutting his life short, that I was already upset from that. I mean, with the judge, honestly, it didn't faze me. I think our fight should really be with our justice system, rather than this one person, this judge who really couldn't do anything because the sentencing was left up to the jury in the state of Texas. It's left up to the jury to decide the sentencing, and they're basically ordered to pick a number between 0 and 99, and there you go, that's the sentencing. So they came up with 10. So I think right now I choose to focus more on our laws, our policies, even on a federal level, so it could blanket all states, then rather than the judge.
I want to ask this question with the utmost sensitivity, which is around the idea of forgiveness. As Black folks, we forgive. Are you in that space at this point? Is your family in that space at this point of forgiving Amber Geiger for what she has done, or is that not the place you're at?
I could only speak for myself, and I will say no, I'm not there. I'm honestly not even entertaining being there. I know a lot of people were really upset, especially our Black community. They were upset when my brother Brant publicly forgave Amber Geiger, and I've asked everyone to just respect it, even though you don't understand it, you respect it. That was his decision. For me, I'm not there. Will I ever get there? I don't know, and I'm not forcing it. Amber Geiger took something that was irreplaceable from us, a person. And I still don't think she has ever shown remorse. I have written her a letter in jail wanting to go see her because I just didn't believe her story. I had questions, and she has yet to reply. So there's that. And then her parole is coming up next year. So I'm more working on myself than forgiving Amber Geiger.
But she never replied to your letter.
No.
Elisa, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to shift gears a little bit to talk more about the book that you have coming out, to talk about the work, and of course, to talk about how can Black America be supportive and be more engaged in this work that you're doing, because you're coming from a place of looking at the system, but you're also working on how to make sure that we can heal from tragedies of this nature, of this magnitude. So I want to kind of get, have a conversation about that. Folks, stay with us. We still have a lot to talk about as we check in with the system of Botham Jean, Ms. Elisa Charles Finley, here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We have been checking in and talking to Elisa Charles Finley, the sister of Botham Jean. And Elisa serves as the author of a brand new book called After Botham, Healing from My Brother's Murder by a Police Officer, which is the story of what happened to her brother and how she fought through the aftermath to find peace, healing, and life. Now, this book is going to be released on September 5th, almost 5 years to the day after his death. And she is working and kind of having conversations around the country, not just about police brutality, folks, but really talking about finding peace, finding some level of healing in light of this great tragedy. Elisa is also the president of a group called Sisters of the Movement, which is a coalition of sisters of police brutality victims working in unity with one another. And she's also the president of the Botham Jean Foundation, which promotes Christian intervention for social change. Elisa, again, we thank you for your time with us here on The Culture. You're doing some very powerful work. So let me start with the book here. This inspiration, you decided to release this book now, or to have this book put out now. What was the inspiration behind that?
The inspiration was really, this is really the first time I felt like myself since September 6th, 2018. I started working on getting back to me in 2021. It took that long to, try to release a lot of the anger. And it took a lot. It took therapy. It took just, speaking with other people, like the sisters of other police brutality victims, and just really trying to center myself. And it when I tell you it was a process, it really was. It took, really setting timers to just meditate, setting timers to do devotion, and just so that I could feel like myself. And I think right now I am as close as I could get to feeling like myself. I don't think I'll ever get back to being me, because Botham was a big part of me. He was my brother. But I really. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I just want to, for those who may not know, can you share a little bit of like what type of relationship you and Botham had?
So I'm the oldest, so he called me Big Sis. I was his, yes. And we spoke every day, almost every single day. The last conversation I had with him was on September 6th, 2018, and I spoke to him up until he got into his apartment. I think part of my anger also fueled from guilt, because part of our conversation, that day was the first game of the NFL season, and a friend of his, Kevin, invited him to go to a sports bar to watch the game, and I said, no, stay home. Because I felt, you're safer at home. And he listened to his sister, and he stayed home. And a few hours later, I got a call from Baylor University Hospital asking me to identify my brother over the phone.
So you advised your brother just to stay home, just enjoy the game at home on that day.
Yes.
And he advised, and he listened to you because you Big Sis, thinking nothing of it. I mean, it's just it's a conversation about a game.
Right.
How did you feel like you were responsible for this in any way?
In the beginning, I would say yes, I did. I think the mind is a messed up tool, because my mind played tricks on me. I've ran through every single scenario there is where I could have prevented it, even though I know deep down inside I couldn't have. But yeah, for a while I blamed myself. For a while I felt like I didn't deserve to be happy. I remember the first time, and it's in the book, the first time I laughed after Botham was killed, and I felt so guilty to laugh. So it was a whole process. So yeah, in some way I felt responsible, because if he went to the sports bar with Kevin that night, chances are he would still be alive.
I think I want to assure you that you're not responsible. That's the least that I can say about that. I want to assure you that you are not responsible for the death of your brother. You're welcome. I think that it takes a lot of self-work to get through a situation like this. And for you to experience some light at the end of this dark tunnel, and to publish a book, and to go on this mission of bringing some healing, and to work with sisters. I mean, it speaks volumes about what God has blessed you to do. with your pain and how you turned your pain into power. But I hope that you don't blame yourself or still, or have that even in remotely near your mind, because that is this could have, I mean, with that just decision making, it could have been, I mean, it could have happened to anyone, unfortunately. And I can only imagine. I can simply only imagine. But you put out this book as a way to show your love and to help people. What can people expect in this book? What is it about this story, that the way you tell it, that may be different from the way we read it and understand it?
Well, you can expect raw emotion. You can expect just the truth of what we families of police brutality victims go through. I mean, I got to a point where I was mad at God. I lost my faith in God because I was just so angry. So you can see all and how it takes a toll on you mentally and physically. I really want, especially police officers, to see how just that decision that they make to pull a trigger. I mean, it's one bullet could take out an entire family because we're still going through it. So I want them, especially police officers, to really keep that in mind before they profile us, before they look at the color of our skin as a weapon. I want them to think and treat us as human, as equal. To other people, to other families of victims, I want them to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not going to say it will be perfect, because 5 years later, I'm still crying for my brother. I still miss him. I still sometimes dial his number just to see if someone will pick up. But it's a process, and it's okay. It's okay to go through the process. It's okay to go through the stages of grief and feel like you're healed, and then go back to the anger or go back to the sadness, because we're human.
Right. And Elisa, that's the other part I was going to ask, and we got to take another pause. But when we come back, I want us to, share your some of the lessons that you have learned along the way for your healing journey, because a lot of us tend to think that, like I said earlier, that it's been 5 years, you should be further along, or that because you have national support, that you should be in a better place. But this is a journey, and everybody is affected differently, right? Even those of us who just read the story is affected. And so I would love to kind of get some more insight from you as to what your healing journey has been, and the overall feedback that you've gotten from Black folks, from law enforcement officers, and from other folks about not just your brother's story and your healing journey, about what can be done next. And then I'd like to share with you, because folks are checking in from all around the country, at least, you have a whole tribe of folks. We call them our culture crew. Our culture crew is checking in as we stream live on YouTube and on Facebook. They are in full support of your healing and your family's healing. And they have been showing up a lot of prayers. I'm seeing a lot of hearts in the chat. There are a lot of people that just wanted to say that they're with you, and that we stand in solidarity for your healing with you. So you are not alone in this, sis. You are certainly not alone. Look, we got to take a quick pause, folks. When we come back, more with our very special guest, the sister of Botham Jean, Sister Lisa Charles Finley. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been having a very, very important and special conversation with our very special guest, Miss Elisa Charles Finley, who serves as the author of the book After Botham, Healing from My Brother's Murder by a Police Officer. Elisa is the sister of Botham Jean, who was shot and killed in his home 5 years ago in Dallas, Texas, by former police officer Amber Geiger. And so Elisa has released this book as a way to continue her healing journey, but more importantly, for us to have a conversation about a host of things, from police brutality to healing to taking action within the community. So Elisa, I want to kind of continue that along that path. And again, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show today and sharing what you and your family has been going through since this great tragedy. But talk to us about what has been the feedback that you have gotten around your activism work. You are part of the Sisters of the Movement dealing with police brutality victims. Talk to us a little bit more about that, because I don't think that we hear these stories, right? We read about these tragedies, and you know, your brother's case, of course, got national attention. We talked about it, and then the conversation, the media attention starts to die down. But we don't know what happened, you know, after the sentencing and all of those things. There's this kind of mindset like, oh, okay, justice or something has been done around this situation. It may not feel like justice. So talk to us, like, you know, what is the best way that we can be supportive of the healing? Like how hard is it for families that who lose their loved one in such a public way? how hard is it for real for you and the family and other sisters and other families? So that way we can be more respectful when other tragedies come up, that we don't handle a tragedy like the way, and I'm not saying we mishandled it, but I just don't want us to kind of get into a space where it's just like it's hot news today and no follow-up about healing tomorrow. So how do we kind of bridge that gap?
Well, I think you're doing a great job just by asking the question, just by acknowledging, because yes, I have encountered social justice activists that have been disrespectful, but I do it for my brother, so I have no issues with putting anyone in their place.
So wait a minute, you say you expect you've encountered social justice activists that's been disrespectful to you?
Yes.
Black folks?
Yes.
And what would be the issue that they have with you and your family after y'all lost somebody y'all love?
They want the acknowledgement publicly. They want their names on things. They want, yeah. And I sometimes I get, requests, and if I say no, it's like, well, but I protested for your brother. So, yeah. But
yes,
listen,
ma'am.
I am
Listen. And look, I'm just saying, look, this is the culture. This is the Black Star Network. Our founder is Roland Martin. We're gonna keep it real. I want you to keep it 1,000 with us, because trust and believe, our supporters want us to keep it real. We want to keep it real. So if that is the situation, and it's heartbreaking to hear. That's heartbreaking to hear, sis, that here you gone through a national tragedy and people are worried about getting some clout from your pain.
Yes. Yes. To the point where, here in Dallas, we were successful in getting South Lamar Street renamed to Botham Jean Boulevard. South Lamar was where the street Botham lived on. And it is also the street where the Dallas police headquarters is located. So their new address is now 1400 Botham Jean Boulevard. That part, I love it, because every police officer coming out of that building will forever say his name, because his name are on their checks. But even with that, where we went through the city council to do it, I had activists coming up to me and saying during the ceremony, like, well, why didn't you mention my name? I protested. So it's things like that, even though I was, crying my heart out. If you on YouTube, it's all over there, because I couldn't even get words out, because even though, yes, we got this victory with the street being renamed, it is still bittersweet, because I would still want my brother here rather than a street. Some people don't see it that way. For some people, it's just another event. We also have the Botham Jean Act in Texas, where it makes it illegal for police officers to turn off their body cam during an active crime scene. So that is also something in Botham's name. I'm still going with doing things for Botham, because I look at it as keeping his heart beating.
Yeah.
It's just my way of everything that I do for him, doing his name is just, just keeping his memory alive. So yeah, I will continue doing it with or without anybody's support. I've been back and forth in DC speaking with senators, because I advocated for the Justice and Policing Act. I still advocate for it. I still think we should have it, because the executive order that was signed by our president it doesn't trickle down to a state level. It's something that's federal, and it would affect only federal officers, and we don't see them shooting people in their homes. So I'm still advocating for that. I would still like to see that bill passed. and so much more, like decertification of police officers. That's something I strongly advocate for, because if all these officers were decertified, like from Amber Geiger to Derek Chauvin and so many other officers that are involved in police brutality, if they were decertified prior, all these victims would still be alive. Because if you look at the history, it's never a first offense. Down to the police officer that killed Tatiana Jefferson in her home in 2019. He failed his psych eval, but he was still hired. So there's still work to be done, and I think there's work for every single one of us. So there's a lot to do than to fight for recognition.
Oh, there's a heck of a lot, and you did all of this within the past 5 years, and more importantly, you did all of this while still in grief.
Yes.
Come on, sister. Look, you about to be my new superhero. I'm serious. You did all of this while in grief. How did you find the power to do it? How did you find the strength to do that?
I really, honestly, it was selfish, because I needed to fill in that dead air, because I spoke to my brother every single day, and to just not have, not be able to speak to him, and just that silence all this time, I needed to do something. So I just kept myself busy. I started the Botham Jean Foundation because I was trying to fill in that time. I started Sisters of the Movement. And all of this is because anytime I sit and I think of Botham, I pick up something to do for him instead of, grieving and crying and, feeling sad. I did something productive with that energy.
I like that. Let me get a couple of our crew members very quickly. I know we got to take another pause, sis, but let me get a couple of folks checking in. Robin Welch said, Elisa, thank you for everything you're doing to keep your brother's legacy alive. Prayers are with you. Thank you, Robin, for posting that. Janae checked in and said, wow, in less than 5 years, that's a great feat. Janae also asked, what are some of the lobbying tips that you would share? How did you really start to do that level of activism?
Man, I just showed up. I would still love.
Did you just say, man, I just showed up?
I would still love lobbying tips, because I've been petitioning the DOJ to open a federal investigation into the murder of my brother. And I just received a letter from them after maybe 2 years. I just received the reply last month saying that there was not enough evidence. So I'm not taking no for an answer. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get back to the DOJ. Because to me, if anyone's federal civil rights were violated, it was Botham's.
Facts. Absolute facts. Sis, we got to take another quick pause. When we come back, I want to talk to you about your faith, because as part of you setting up the foundation, you made it explicitly known that you wanted this to include the Christian intervention for social justice and social change. And I need to need to pick your brain a little bit to help us understand, what does that mean? What does that look like? And all of those good things. And moving forward, how can Black America be supportive of you, your work, and your family? So we will continue that part of the conversation on the other side. Folks, stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We have been having the conversation with the sister of Botham Jean, Sister Elisa Charles Finley, who serves as the author. She serves as the president of the Botham Jean Foundation, and she's also a part of the Sisters of the Movement, which is a support group for women who have experienced the loss of life from police brutality. I want to bring my sister back into the conversation as we are talking about this. And, you know, again, I can't thank you enough, sis, for everybody, for all that you've done. Everyone is checking in about this, and they're saying a lot, basically saying that they are in solidarity with you. Let's talk a little bit about your approach to this, because you're doing all of this work. You're doing the lobbying work. You're doing the policy work. You're connecting with other sisters and those who have lost someone because of police brutality. But one of the things that stuck out for me in the work that you're doing is with the foundation, how you're saying you want to take a Christian approach, a Christian intervention for social change. What does that mean? What does that look like? And why did you highlight that part of that, you know, that approach for this work?
So I highlighted that part because Botham was a Christian. That was the center for him. At 26 years, he has been a praise leader for multiple churches. He got baptized at a very early age. And that was him. So in having the Botham Jean Foundation, which is basically to continue the work that he started in his short 26 years on earth, he did a lot to give back to vulnerable communities, especially our at-risk youth. We are from a small island called St. Lucia, and he would always give back to the youth from St. Lucia, to the point where he attended a Christian university, Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas. And he put together a group of students and faculty to come to St. Lucia every single year to mentor our at-risk youth. So that was something we wanted to continue, and we're still doing, along with so many other things in his name, to give back. Like right now, we have in St. Lucia, we have a summer program called BJS, Botham Jean Youth Empowering Skills Program, where we take 160 students who are not excelling academically, and we train them with skills that they can use beyond high school. So for example, DJing, barbering, hairdressing, nail art, computer skills, culinary arts, and they get certified in their choosing, and they get to continue that. So it's basically all of that. I look at it as heartbeats for Botham, and we're just working towards keeping his legacy alive.
Sorry, there we go. Just to make the point that work is an important work to inspire the next generation. How many young people are you talking about that you are touching, that you are affecting, sis?
Well, every year we do, we started doing 100, and we got just so many people reaching out. So this year we did 160, even though our limit was 150, but we couldn't say no. So we accepted the 10 more because it's important. And again, we're doing it for both of them.
That is fantastic. We have a few moments left, and I know that since your faith is a huge part of this, earlier in the conversation you talked about how you did lose faith. Mm-hmm. That the grief was that heavy, and you didn't say this, but I'm understanding that level of darkness was that heavy upon you. How were you able to get through that?
I retrained myself. It was really just reintroducing myself to God, or my relationship with God. Because yes, even though I've been a Christian for very long, just like both when that happened, my faith wavered. I was mad at God, and I couldn't tell anybody about it, because how do you tell somebody that you're mad at God? So I worked on it after a while, and I would say 2021 was that turnaround year for me, where I really started working on it. Like I put timers in my phone, reminders in my phone to devotion in the morning, devotion in the evening, meditation, and, just doing these Bible studies, and just really working on that relationship to get back to where I was. And that was the foundation for me to my healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me share with you more comments that they're coming in. Cindy D checked in and said, keep advocating. Change will come as long as it takes. So I think that's the big thing. One of my sister's sister, she's an attorney out of Florida. My sister Suzette Speaks. She says that justice can sometimes be a slow grind. But I am a huge advocate and true believer of justice, that your brother's death was not something that was in vain. We will always lift up the name of Botham as part of the conversation about why it's important for us to keep going, and more importantly, hold people accountable. Janelle, my sister, said, I'm so glad that she's sharing the truth about what survivors go through with the clout chasers. So we like a little bit of that tea, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you got clout chasers. Okay. Now we need to know. Now we need to put some people on blast.
The whole other conversation.
That's another conversation. I'm not asking you to do that today. We talk about your book. I don't want to give nobody no extra attention other than what you want us to give attention to, sis. So we're not worried about that today.
But they're out.
They're definitely out there. We got a few moments left. What is the biggest thing that you want us as Black America to do at this point, again, this happened 5 years ago. You have gone through an incredible journey of loss, pain, healing, work. You're going through it. What way can Black America be with you, stand in support of you? I mean, of course, we're putting out there that you do have this book. So, that's one way to support you and the work and, supporting the story of who Botham was really, who he is, who he was, and and the impact that he has made on your life. But how can Black America be supportive of you?
Well, for me, with the Botham Jean Foundation, you can visit our website. It's www.bothamjeanfoundation.org. You can donate, you could follow. But it's not just me. I would say just there are other victims, other families who are going through this. Remember them. And with, everyone, I know there are a lot of activists and they do great work. But also remember the families, reach out to the families, especially, if you're protesting for a cause, keep the family at the front and center. I was just at a documentary screening 2 weeks ago in Chicago for the killing of Amir Locke. And if you get an opportunity to watch it, please do, because it's very interesting and it's very telling of the crazy system that we live in. But continue to say his name, continue to say all these victims' names, because we're still looking for justice. And if you could help any of us out in reaching out to the DOJ, we will take it. Thank you.
There it is right there. We truly blessed 10 asked the question. We know that Amber Geiger is up for going to be up for parole next year. Will you be present to protest that? Will you, will the foundation, the Sisters of the Movement, are you guys going to be on that?
Yes, I will definitely be there. I will be there from start to end, speaking against her getting parole. I don't know, this is new to us, so I don't know exactly how it will be, but if anyone wants to show up, pull up.
Pull up. Sister Elisa, I can't thank you enough for your time today. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being the woman that you are and, sharing with us just a little bit of the lessons that you've learned during this journey. Again, our prayers and condolences go out to you and your family for the loss for Brother Botham. And he seems like he was a phenomenal brother, big-hearted. He has a beautiful smile. So, I can only imagine what you have gone through, but I can say that unlike what we normally would probably see, you're not sitting in the corner in a dark room somewhere. You are showing and sharing your light for the whole world to see. And one of our crew members made this point. Botham is right there with you, sis. He is right there with you. So, all that you're doing, I'm sure him and all of the other ancestors are just grateful. So you are protected and you are surrounded by love. So again, we thank you for the great work you're doing, sis. And you always have a space and a place and a home here on the culture and on the Black Star Network. So whenever you are doing things in the community, whatever you're doing, we would love to be supportive of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Folks, the book is called After Botham. Healing from My Brother's Murder by a Police Officer. There's the book right there. That's the book that we want you to check out as you hear the story of Botham Jean, directly from his sister Elisa Charles Finley, and we want you to definitely show your support for her. Books are going to be available on September the 5th. And it will be almost 5 years to the day after his death, but it is a phenomenal story of a Black man whose life may have been cut short, but who has made a tremendous impact on so many people. So make sure you pick up a copy of that book when it's available. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. I thank my fantastic production team, Maddie and Chris, Shannon and Joel, and my guy King Keenan for making us look and sound so good. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. If you enjoyed that conversation, make sure you do your due diligence and support us here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. And we would love for you to support us financially. We would love for you to follow us on all social media platforms, download the apps on all devices, and most importantly, let people know that this digital media space is here and we're here to stay. So again, blackstarnetwork.com. Also follow me, yours truly, on all social media. You can find me at The Real Farajii on Instagram, Farajii on Twitter, Farajii on Facebook, and we would love to hear from you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Stay tuned, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Roland Martin Unfiltered comes at you. And of course, it's Thursday night, so they're going to have a fantastic panel and to talk about the issues and so much more. But as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Peace.